Anyway, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining me here today. My name is Adrienne Bradley of Thriving Childcare, and thank you for joining me for the Daycare Q&A Show this morning. Excuse me. And I do have my water right here just in case I get choked up. Anyway, good morning. So, today is April 2nd, 2025. I was looking at the calendar. And yesterday was April Fool's Day. I don't know if you participate in April Fools either at the daycare or in your family or whatnot. I tend to not. I just, because I forget that it's April Fools and I always get it. I always get caught up in whatever. So I'm really glad that my family did not try and take advantage of me yesterday because I would have forgotten what day it was, and whatever they told me I would have reacted to, and then I would have been mad and upset. So I don't do it. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you do something, or if you're a prankster and you had fun yesterday. I think it would be great for anybody else but me. Anyway, along with it being April Fool's yesterday, it was also the first of April, was also the first of Q2. So we've already made it through the first 3 months of the year. And I always say this, but it really does astound me that, I'm going to go over here to my laptop and make sure I can see any comments. But it always astounds me that the year, it just goes so fast. You know what I mean? And I can't believe it's already April. But anyway, I have lots to share with you today, so I am not going to go on and on about the fact that I'm just getting caught up. I'm just getting caught up. But anyway, I hope that you had a good first quarter with your business. I hope that you are doing well. Um, Last week was kind of difficult for me. I planned to be here, but I had a situation in my house. My dog went missing, and I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I did not think I was gonna be one of those people, But I'm an empty nester. My husband and I are empty nesters, so my dogs are the ones that I spend the day with. They're the ones that are happy when I come home. They're the ones who come over and just lean on me and just share their love with me every day. And all they want is love in return. And so you just saw him walk by. He went by that way. So Rooney, went missing last week, and I felt horrible. I had so many missed opportunities to make sure that that didn't happen. And he got out, and it was a full 24 hours before we got him back. And if you're on my newsletter, Sunday Sunshine newsletter, then you know all the details by now. But I was so upset for that full 24 hours. And the one thing that I did say in the newsletter was, it actually, I won't say I was spiraling, but I was really, really anxious and just very upset. And more because I needed to leave. I had a conference to go to last week, and so I couldn't look for him on that day. I had to ask my daughter, who was visiting, to look for him and to put up flyers and all the things. And I was upset about that because I was away from the house and I had to do all this stuff kind of remotely. And so when I was um, heading back home one night, the night after he went missing, I was planning on getting home, canvassing the neighborhood again, and looking for him. And I got stuck in traffic. And if anybody lives in LA or you visited LA, you know about 405 traffic. There's no way you don't. And I got caught up in 405 traffic midday. Well, I guess it was mid evening, early evening. and which is usual. And I was just beating myself up. I was just saying, you know, it's your fault that he's missing. I was full of doubt and everything. And I got to a part on the freeway where I remember I went under an overpass, and I remember right then and there making a decision to stop with the negative input. And I reasoned with myself that I had already given this to God to help me find my dog. And I wasn't honoring him by taking it back under my control. But not only that, I realized that I was putting nothing but negative vibes, negative energy into a situation that I wanted a positive outcome from. And that didn't make sense to me. And things need to make sense to me. So, right then and there, I stopped with the negative self talk, and I just started just thanking God and saying, I'm going to be so happy when Rooney comes home. I'm going to be so happy when Rooney comes home. And I literally, radio off, nothing else to distract me. I kept saying that until I got home. When I got home, he still wasn't found. I went out in the neighborhood, like I said, and within an hour, I was walking back through my front door with my dog. And like I said, if you get my Sunday Sunshine newsletter, then you know all of those details and everything. And but what it taught me, beyond me making sure that he's safe and making sure he has all the tags and the things that he needs, it taught me to use positive energy in something that I want to happen. So same thing. I will share this with you. If there's something positive, even if it's a personal or if it's professional, if it has to do with your business, if there's something positive, some positive outcome that you are um, um, hoping for, or not hoping for, but you're working towards, then I would submit that you need to put in positive energy towards that instead of all the things. And I talk to a lot of business women, and I do a lot of training with other providers. And sometimes we'll talk about something, and I can't think of a specific topic right now, but I noticed that it must be, I'll just say it's human nature. But when I'm talking to people, they automatically go towards the worst thing that can happen, the most negative outcome, instead of, why don't we think about the most positive thing that can come out? I mean, because what happens is, if you put all that negative energy in, if I had kept beating myself up driving down that freeway, then who knows if I had the mindset or the energy to get home, print out more flyers, and head back out to look for him, if I didn't believe that it was even possible to find him. And that's what I mean. I realized that I need to employ that type of thinking, that type of mentality in a lot of things in my life, both professional and personal. I need to put positive energy on it. Number one, I need to, once I've given it to God, understand that I have done that, okay, and not take back control when I think I need to. Um, and I'm not a control freak anyway, but I'm a determined person. So I feel like I can always contribute to the situation, but I needed to have faith in that moment. And I know we're talking about a dog, and some people might be thinking, it's not that serious, it's just a dog. But like I said, this type of mindset um, can can be so beneficial in our lives in general. So I won't continue to go on and on. I do have other things to share with you today, and we do have some questions, so I'll get to them. But yeah, that was my week, or that was the biggest thing that happened that week. And by the way, as soon as I got him home, I made sure to take the air tags that had been sitting on my coffee table without a battery. I made sure to go get a battery right then and there and put that air tag on him. So I know where he is at all times. Um, I still have to get him his new tag with his name on it. He lost it in the yard someplace, and that was my fault because I hadn't replaced it. So I'll be doing that today. And he has an appointment to get chipped as well. So anyway, just in case you're wondering about my Rooney, he's home, he's safe, and I'm gonna do everything to keep him that way because he's like a toddler. He's a wanderer. Let me get some water. Okay, let's get to what's going on. So first of all, if you are joining me here for the first time, welcome. And if you are coming back and if you're watching this on replay, welcome back. And if you would just send me some hearts and likes whenever you're watching this, whether you are watching this live or if you are watching this on replay, I would love to just give you a shout out and say hi. I love talking to you guys. So, um, I'll just remind you that we do have a YouTube channel, and that's where our archives, our older episodes live, and you can get caught up. You can binge watch those because, I cover a lot of things on the show that um, many of us go through in our business. So um, you might want to head over there and catch up on some of our older episodes. I have been getting better with moving them over and uploading them to our channel over there. I've got a cough in my throat. Hold on. So anyway, please do and check out our channel. And if you wouldn't mind, I would love to get a thumbs up over there. And please consider subscribing. I would love for you to get each and every one of our episodes. Again, you can watch them there. You can watch them here whenever you have time. I know that you're super busy. So let's see what's going on in the Thriving Childcare universe right now. So first of all, like I said, yesterday was the 1st of April, so April 1st, and we had an April 1st 48-hour flash sale that we put up yesterday. So we've got till tonight, I believe, to get in on that sale. You can click the link in the description here and go over and check out. We have some items that are 30% off and get some real deals to start off your Q2 with. Let me see some of the things. We have our contract and policy bundle. It is 30% off. Let's see, we have some templates over there and some marketing resources. Just go over, click the link and go over to the shop and check out those deals because they will be over tonight. So check those out. I don't want you to miss those. Okay. Next up, tomorrow. So this is real time sensitive. Tomorrow I am teaching a master class. The master class is called How to Enroll More Families by the Summer. Okay. I have, let's see, 2 weeks ago, I was talking with a good friend of mine. She is also a childcare provider. And she was telling me she's been very concerned about her enrollment. It has dipped, and not just the seasonal dips that we're used to, whatever. It's kind of stayed there, and she's really concerned about recouping. There's Rooney. She's really concerned about recouping her clients, and of course her income's taking a hit because of it. And I'd heard that from a lot of providers lately. We all know about UPK. If you don't, the Universal Pre-K is really impacting a lot of our businesses. And I do think it is a concern, but I don't think it's as dismal as we might make it out to be. Remember the negative self-talk and the negative speak that we do. But I do think we need to take action to make sure our business are sustained. Remember, we made it through a whole pandemic, right? And yeah, some businesses were affected, maybe closed, but a lot of us made it. And so we've got heart. We can do this. But I do think it does require us to maybe pivot, maybe switch our mindsets as business owners and do some different things. So I'm going to be doing just that in this masterclass tomorrow. I would love it if you join me. The first 10 signups, you will be getting $20 off. So click the link. It's just one link that's in the comments today. you can click that link and it'll take you right over where you can sign up for that masterclass. It is tomorrow. It will be at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 9 p.m., I believe, Eastern Standard Time. And just in case that's too late for you, if you sign up, you will get the replay. You will get all of the resources that I will be giving out during the masterclass. So go over and sign up for how to enroll your more families by the summer. Okay, and the summer's right around the corner. If we're in April, summer is coming really fast. So let's get you some new clients. Let's start pushing those numbers back up, and let's get some strategies to keep you bringing in new clients. Because like I said to a friend of mine many years ago, and I say to providers now when I'm doing workshops, every client that you have now is going to leave. So you need to have a mechanism, a strategy to bring in new clients all the time, right? So go over and sign up for how to enroll more families by the summer. I would love to see you there. And again, that's tomorrow night. I don't know when this replay will be offered again. So, or this live class will be out. I'm teaching it live. Did I say that? I'm teaching it live. I don't know when it will be offered again. So go over and sign up. You can get $20 off if you are one of the first 10 to sign up. Okay? Click the link in the comments and you can go straight over and sign up for that. Okay. Lastly, for now, my new book, How to Start Your Daycare Business Without Overwhelm, it's finally released. The ebook is finally released to everyone. Last month, it got an early release inside my membership, the Rise and Thrive Club. So they always get, as a member of the Rise and Thrive Club, you always get early releases. My early releases. I can't speak. My early releases. And so they got that book first, but now it's open to everyone. So click the same link that's in the comments here today, and it'll take you over, and you can get access to the new book. And of course, this book walks you through. This is something that people have been asking me to write this book for years. And it's finally done. It's going to be the first of a series of books, so there will be other books. But this is if you remember your college courses, this is the theory. This is your core book. This is your core understanding of it all. So if you are looking to start a child care, if you just started your child care, or even if you're a seasoned child care owner, there is information in this book that each and every one of us needs. So click the link, go over and check out the book. You can get access to the book today. And yeah, I would love it if you would. And yeah, okay. All right. Finally, let me see, make sure I went through everything. Yeah, I did. Okay. Today, the episode is sponsored by by the I can't talk by the provider planner and organizer. This is what happens when you talk too fast and too much. The stripe version is right behind me. I have the floral version, which is my favorite cover, right here, and I usually go to it every week on the show, and I look to see what observances are happening this coming week, because in the provider planner and organizer there are all of these different national days that most of us don't know about. I've said here on the show many times, some people don't think they're real, including my daughter, but they are real. You can Google them. I promise you they are real. But I've got them in the planner to help maybe inspire you for a certain project with the kids, maybe a book to read the children with spring just starting, finding different fun activities that you don't do all the time. And that makes it fun for you as well. Maybe it can spark a special snack or, like I said, or an art project or something like that. But anyway, so I'm looking the first week of April. We already know that yesterday was April Fool's Day. So today, and this might be controversial, but today is National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day. Now, if you have children, or you don't know if you have children that have a peanut butter allergy, I would not suggest having a snack or even lunch that involves peanut butter. If you don't, though, and there's some of us that don't have children with that allergy issue, then maybe you want to take advantage of today. But also, there's a book in the shop that's called peanut butter. What is it called? I'll see if I can find it real quick. But you can find a book that has something to do with peanut butter and jelly. I actually love peanut butter and jelly. It's one of my favorite go-to lunches. I think I had one yesterday. Sometimes I'll just have a craving for it. You know what I mean? Probably because it reminds me of um, my when I was a kid. Okay, it's called Peanut Butter and Aliens. Okay, so you can go over to the shop and get this book. It's called Peanut Butter and Aliens. It's actually on sale. Peanut Butter Aliens, and it's about a zombie little boy who who is looking for jelly, I think, but he finds aliens. Anyway, it's cute. So go over and check it out. It's in the shop. So you don't have to actually eat peanut butter and jelly or have the kids eat peanut butter and jelly. You can come up with um, a story to read. You can also, I've suggested before, maybe talk about peanuts, where they're, how they're harvested, where they're grown. Um, I think it was it George Washington Carver? I believe that's his name. I hope I'm not messing that up. Who did all these things with peanuts. So you can talk to the kids about things like that. You don't necessarily have to eat peanut butter. Okay. All right. Let's see what else is going on. So tomorrow is April 3rd. That is actually National Find a Rainbow Day. That could be so much fun, right? You can go out with the kids outside, presuming the weather is nice. Here, I'm in Southern California. Today it looks pretty nice. Tomorrow is Thursday. It's supposed to be raining, but it might not rain all day, and that might be the best time to find a rainbow, right? So if you don't have severe weather, maybe explain to the kids that it's National Rainbow Day. If you can't find a rainbow, if you can't go outside, maybe have them do, like I said, a project where they draw a rainbow, they color in a rainbow or something. That would be so much fun. That would be great. And then you can talk about all the colors that are in the rainbow, right? All right. Let's see. The first Saturday in April is National Love Your Children Day. So if your childcare's not open on Saturday, why not pass this along to the parents? If you have a weekly newsletter or if you send out daily notes, let them know that Saturday is National Love Your Children's Day, and maybe they can have a project that they do at home. I love kind of bringing the the activities or things that we do here at the daycare and sharing it with the parents so that they can carry on with that at home. It kind of um, what's the word? I can't think of the word. The parents like to feel involved and they like to feel a part of what their child is doing, even here at the daycare. So I keep saying that like my daycare is still open. If you don't know, I closed or sunsetted my my childcare business back in 2020, but I still think of it. I still think of the kids being here with me. All right, so let's get into some of these questions. We still have time. I'm so glad I did not drone on as much as I thought I was. Okay, so let's talk about it. So the first question is it says, Adrienne, how do I handle a parent who keeps sending their child to daycare sick? Okay. Like I said, a lot of us have these issues. That's why this show exists, because and let me do what I forgot to do. Let me just give my normal disclaimer. Okay. As I said, I had a child care for many years, 20 plus to be exact, or to be sort of exact. So whatever advice I give here or the questions that I wind up answering, so forth and so on, I draw from that experience. 20 plus years in my own business, and now I train childcare providers and other business owners on business, either the business of childcare or other businesses. So I draw from all of that experience as I answer these questions. And if not, maybe a colleague, like I was talking about earlier, their experiences that they've shared with me. However, big however here, your business is your business. I'm certainly not telling you what to do. The show exists, the advice I give is to give you maybe a different perspective. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm in the thick of things, I can't think clearly. I cannot think about how I really want to handle it, whatever the issue is, whatever the situation is. And to be honest, I've said in workshops to other childcare providers that depending on when that issue came up, like if it's on a Thursday or a Friday, that's a whole different Miss Adrienne than the one on Monday. I'm maybe tired. I'm maybe, just spent from the week by then. And I might react differently than I would if I was fresh and, relaxed from over the weekend. So, anyway, but if you hear something here that resonates with you, that you want to file away in your mental files for if that ever comes up again or if you ever have that issue, absolutely that's what this is for. That's what this is here for. If you don't, if something just doesn't vibe with you, it's just not something that resonates with you at all, then leave it here. It's probably for somebody else, okay? It is absolutely okay. All right? Take what works and leave the rest, okay? I've said here before on the show, I love a rant. I absolutely do. Sometimes we just need to get things out, and I have girlfriends that I talk to and they call me for that very reason. But I'm not going to lie. I love a solution more than a rant. For me, that has a better value, okay? Like I said, get it out. There's plenty of Facebook groups for that, even my own. But I'd love to be your resource for a solution to the issues that you might be having. Okay, back to the question. How do I handle a parent who keeps sending their child to daycare sick? Okay, so first, I would say, if I put on my coaching hat, I would say, do you have a policy regarding sick and illness for your child care? Now, for those of us who are veterans, I'm sure you do. If you're new to childcare, maybe you didn't realize that you had to. Maybe you thought it was an obvious thing. I'm not going to lie. When I started my business, I thought parents wouldn't really need as much guidance because it seemed very obvious, certain things, right? It's like, just common sense. You've heard the phrase before, common sense is not common. And that's definitely true in the world of childcare, okay? Childcare business, anyway. So if you don't have a sick and illness policy, I would encourage you to stop whatever you're doing and get one, craft one, write one up, at least an initial one, because you probably will make changes to it. And here in California, as in a lot of other states, we're kind of guided by the rules and mandates that licensing puts forth when it comes to sick and illness. The children are not to be in care when they have certain symptoms. So you can start there. You can just go straight to your licensing website and look up that mandate. For us here is Title 22, and you can craft your sick and illness policy from there. You can also go to our shop. We have a sick and illness policy there that you can adapt and you can revise and edit for your own uses. But whatever, make sure you have a sick and illness policy. So that's number one. Number two, make sure that your parents know about it. So if you have one, but they don't know what it is, then it doesn't help the situation, right? Make sure that that's something that you go over at the tour, when they enroll, when they're submitting their enrollment forms, whatever. Make sure that they are aware of at least the high level parameters around your sick and illness policy. Okay, if the fever is this, if they're vomiting or if they're throwing it, whatever is in your sick and illness policy. Make sure that they understand it. Also, maybe consider putting it someplace other than just in the enrollment paperwork or just reviewing it at the tour. I wound up putting several of my core policies on my website. So in the middle of the night or in early morning, if they noticed that their child was sick, they could go right to that policy right on the website. Okay, everybody knew about the website. So it was a good central location for it to be. Hold on, let me get some more water. So I put it there on purpose and I let them know that it was there and they could always access it there. You could also, if it's a one pager, maybe consider printing it out and putting it in one of those frames. You can get a frame, a clear frame, an acrylic frame from the Dollar Tree, or even a regular frame, and put it over by the sign-in sheet or by your um, yeah, the sign-in sheet, or where maybe where your parent board is or something. You could put it up on there as well. So make it accessible, make them aware of it. Maybe reference a couple of things in your newsletter if you have a newsletter. Excuse me. But make sure the parents are aware of it so that they understand you are not kidding when it comes to your second illness policy, because, excuse me, this is an issue that many of us have to deal with. A lot of times parents will test that system. They will test that policy above anything else. And we need to be firm because we want to keep the other children safe. So that can be a conversation that you have at your tour. That can be a conversation that, or a one liner that you put in your sick and illness policy. We're making sure that all of the kids stay well, including theirs and yourself. Because if you get sick, then everybody can't come, right? So I'll tell you, I had one incidence where I got really, really sick, and I mean, it it was it was so bad that it went through my family even. It was some kind of stomach virus, and it was nothing nice. And I wound up having to close the child care for a couple of days. But a parent brought it in. So it wasn't even their child. Maybe their child had early symptoms of it or whatever, but they were sick. And when they came to pick up, probably that's what happened. But I mean, and by the way, you'll get parents to say, "Oh, was there somebody else sick here? Was one of the other kids sick?" And I just never understood that conversation, because it was like, it doesn't matter who patient zero was at this point. I mean, unless you're trying to blame me for allowing that child to be here. I don't understand. It doesn't matter. Your child's sick now. So they need to stay home until, and make sure you have the until in your policy. For me, it was until they are 24 hours clear of all symptoms, right? Without medication. And I would suggest you put that in. I don't think I had that in my policy, but I would suggest you put that in, because I had a parent that said, "Oh, I gave them Tylenol. Can they come back?" I'm like, no, they're not well. The medication typically is not a cure. It's to help you manage the symptoms. So it's to help your child get through whatever symptoms they have. It does not mean they're well. So maybe consider adding, like I said earlier, to have some kind of sick and illness policy to start with, but you will probably be amending it and making changes to it. And let them know when there are changes to it as well. But that was one of the changes that, if I still have my business, that's what I would put, without medication. Because like I said earlier, I thought they wouldn't need much direction. I was way wrong with that. They absolutely do. They need maybe more direction than the children. So make sure you have an airtight sick and illness policy. And last point on this, the last thing is to enforce it. As I said before, it's to keep the other children safe. It's to keep all the parents' children safe. It's to keep them safe, because illness can, just like I said a moment ago, run through everybody. And that one did. It ran through everybody at the daycare and my family and me. So that's what we want to do. Some things are very contagious, like pink eye and, the flu, RSV. Make sure that you enforce it. Okay, so if you have a policy, you're setting the groundwork. If you are, and you should be making your clients aware of the policy, making the parents aware of the policy and where they can access the policy itself. Now um, you are setting yourself up to not have to go hard to enforce it. So in the end, when you do have to enforce it, all the groundwork is laid, right? All the groundwork is laid. They're aware of it. They understood it. They signed off on it. If it's in your handbook, that's another excellent place for it to be. Um, you can reference it in your contract. Please reference our sick and illness policy because you are agreeing to that in this contract as well. So, last point is for you to enforce it. Do not feel intimidated. Do not feel like you're being mean by enforcing your policies, and especially this one, okay? Because there can be serious ramifications if you don't. So, it says how to handle. Make sure you have a policy. She's asking how to handle it. A parent that brings a sick child in, make sure you have a policy. Make sure it's a strong policy. And if you need to change it over time, make sure you make those changes. Make sure the parents are aware of it and enforce it. Enforce it. That's the biggest thing here. Okay? All right. So, and head over to the shop. There are some resources there that can help you enforce it. I know there's a sick and illness policy flyer that you can include right in your enrollment paperwork, and you can also that can also be what you put up in what did I say, a frame by your sign-in sheet or on your parent board. So check that out. There are resources over there to help you. All right. Next question is, what's the best way to introduce a new policy without upsetting my current families? I kind of just talked about that, but let's go over it because it doesn't just have to be the sick and illness policy. It can be any policy, okay? So, again, make sure that they are aware of it. So, let's say, and this used to happen to me, I would make a change to a policy or add a new policy. I would send out an email memorandum, right? A little note, it doesn't have to be formal. Say, we now have a new policy on this, right? I may or may not explain why this is necessary, but I did make sure to announce the policy and announce when it is taking effect. Sometimes it was taking effect immediately, sometimes there was a 30-day run up. So use your best judgment. If you can give notice, that's best. But if it's a safety issue, I'll tell you, I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head, but I had 1 year where I had a lot of infants that were in car seats. And I don't know, I guess the parents didn't have, because some of my clients would, the one parent would drop off and the other parent would pick up. And I guess there weren't two car seats in both the vehicles. They didn't have a car seat, it was just the one that they were sharing. And so multiple people were leaving car seats in my entryway. And that became a tripping hazard because it was a lot of them. It wasn't just one or two. It was quite a bit. And those things are kind of bulky and they were just in the way. And I felt like it might be a tripping hazard for the kids, myself, whatever. And so I said that one went into effect immediately. And everybody understood. Don't think just because, remember that negative self speak I was talking about earlier, you're not always going to get the pushback that you might think you're going to get. Okay. I also changed my tuition policy to where tuition was due. Initially, it was due on Mondays, the Monday of the current week. And then over time, it became such an issue, the tuition thing, that I was advised to move it to the Friday before. And I remember saying myself to that advisor, well, what if they get upset? They've been used to doing it this way. And, what if they don't have it? And I'm making excuses for them. I'm basically funding the failure of my own contract. And and I'll get into that at a later date, what that phrase actually means. But I was advocating for their poor behavior. They were the ones who weren't keeping with the contract themselves, and here I am defending them. And she explained it to me. She said, "Well, number one, most people get paid on Friday." I was like, "You're right," and she said, "So it makes sense. Um, but if they don't have it, they better have it by Monday, right? Because they're late, and there's probably going to be late fees." So anyway, I sent out a memo to say that this new policy was taking effect, or this change to this policy was taking effect whenever it was taking effect. And so I think that we need to calm down and not think that we're always going to get pushback or upset, like she put here, from those clients. People in general are used to things changing, right? Policies change, different things change in our life all the time. And if you need to make a change in your business, then make that change. And by the way, on that memo, I'll just this is for free. I put whether, and I asked for their signature that they had received this memo to submit this to me, sign in and bring it back in. But I put a one liner to say, regardless to whether they signed or submitted this policy was going to take effect on the day that I said it was going to take effect. So that's another thing that I would suggest putting there, because a lot of parents will feel like, well, I didn't sign that, so I didn't agree to it. No, there's plenty of policies that you don't have to agree to, just in general, that are still in effect. Okay, if they change a traffic policy or something like that, a traffic rule, I guess it doesn't matter if you sign off on it. That's just how it is. Okay, so that's what I would say. Make sure that the parents are aware of it. If you can give notice, that would be best, because it allows them to get used to it, I guess, that this is happening. So that would be my suggestion. But don't feel intimidated into not making the change if you need to, whether it's your policy or your contract. And stand up for it, enforce it. Know that you made that change or added that new policy for a reason, and you are the business owner. It's up to you to protect the interests of the business, and that means liability issues. That means all kinds of things. So it's your job. This is part of your job, okay? And being intimidated and not doing those things and having an occurrence that could have been prevented, that's not doing your job well, right? So that's how I would answer that. Let me know in the comments if you have worried about changing a policy and you were unsure how to handle it, and how did you handle it? Do you think, did you get pushback? Do you think that you were worried for no reason? Let me know in the comments what you think, okay? I would love to know what you think. Okay, I have two more questions, and oh, I'm doing good. Next question is, Adrienne, I feel like I'm always chasing payments. I can talk about this forever. How can I get parents to pay on time without awkward conversations? Okay. I said earlier that the tuition thing was my albatross. That is that how you say that word? Albatross? Albatross? I think I'm close. That was my biggest issue. Biggest issue. But guess what? I realized I was a problem because I was allowing it. I've said here before, I've said here in workshops, I've said in my book, um, I was going to the bank 5 times a week. And this bank wasn't around the corner, by the way. It was quite a distance, too. And finally, one day, I mean, I was exhausted. I was mad, but I thought this is what I have to put up with. And I went to the bank, just in case you haven't heard the story before. I went to the bank And they knew me by then. Of course, was I was in there 5 times a day, 5 times a week. It was almost like I worked there. And one of the tellers said, "Hi, Adrienne," and she said, "Oh, I see you have a child care." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Oh, that I don't know if it was her sister or her sister-in-law was had a child care too, but she was closing her child care." And I was like, "Oh, really? Why?" I mean, I was fairly new, so I couldn't understand why would you be closing your. Look at my shirt. Okay. Why would you be closing your child care? And she said, "Well, she was closing her child care because she was losing her home. She was losing her home because her clients, her parents, did not pay her on time." And I had that aha moment. Okay. We weren't talking about mindset back then, but my mindset definitely shifted right then because I saw myself in that scenario. I saw that happening to me. So I came back that day from the bank and I said, "I'm going to put a stop to this." And like I said, um, I had that advisor to suggest that I move the date when the tuition was due. I stopped giving the midweek grace period to submit the tuition. I did have one parent that made a comment about it, but by then I had already been prepped by that advisor to know to say things to my client like there's lots of things that we pay for before we receive the service because that was her thing. She tried to throw that back at me. "Oh, I don't know if parents are going to want to pay for service before they receive it." And I'm like, "Well, we do that all the time, right? I mean, you might not think of it that way, this way, but you pay for gas before you receive the gas, right? You don't get the gasoline. They don't trust you with pumping the gasoline before you pay for it. Same thing with groceries. There's lots of little things and things in our life that we pay in advance for. You pay for a ticket before you see the movie. You pay for well, you may not pay for dinner before you eat dinner, but if you go to fast food, you are. So, and she was the only one who made any comment at all. I did give them a run up to when the policy would take effect, but it wasn't long because I was like done with that 5 day thing. I was like, imagine if gas was as much as it is now, and me going back and forth to the bank that distance, 5 times a week. But that wasn't acceptable. It just wasn't acceptable. And at the very least, if you are dealing with an issue like this, um, it doesn't always have to be a contentious conversation. You can always simply explain that most people get paid on a certain day. They are expecting, this parent included, expecting their payday to be their payday. And there are things that are centered around when they're expecting to be paid. And you deserve, you have every right to that as well. You have every right to know and to set when you are going to expect payment. And just like our bills, just like our credit cards, there are consequences if you don't meet that deadline. So they might act like they don't understand at first, or they might want to try to have some pushback. But like I said, I only had that one, and then that was it. So a lot of times we build it up, negative self speak, we build it up bigger than it actually is. So set your policy in place. If you don't already have a tuition policy, I will tell you, like I said, I could talk about this for hours because there were a lot of things that I put in place to handle that situation in my own business. But one other thing that I did was to pull that part of the contract and put it onto a separate page because you know how people just skim through contracts or skim through everything. We don't read word for word. We don't for the most part. Even books, we kind of don't read every single word. So when it comes to contracts and things like that, most people don't. And I would say, I tell my clients, my coaching clients, parents don't read contracts. And if you have a parent that read your contract, then good on you. And I know that there's a chorus of people saying, "You're wrong, Adrienne," because I read it to them. We sit down and we go over it. Just because you went over it doesn't mean they were paying attention or will even remember it. Okay? But what I did do in my situation was to pull the tuition matter, how much tuition was, when it was due, how it's to be paid, and I put that on a separate sheet of paper. I put that on a tuition agreement, and that you can find over in the shop as well, because I made it generic so that you can use it too. You can find it in the shop at thrivingchildcareshop.com, or you can click the link that's in the show notes right here. Um, and so that they had to sign off and initial that one. So because I that was my biggest issue, right? So I want to make sure that they at least saw that there are tuition guidelines, and not even guidelines. I shouldn't say that. There's a tuition agreement that you are signing with this contract. I wanted to make sure that they understood that. So I pulled it out, put it on this separate tuition agreement. So there's lots of things you can do, but the most important thing, just like with the sick and illness policy I was talking about earlier, is to enforce it. If you have a policy that you're not willing to enforce, you might as well not have the policy, because 9 times out of 10 you are going to get a client, someone that is going to challenge it or is going to test the system, like I said. So like I said, it doesn't always have to be an argument or like this provider was saying, an awkward conversation. If they have been made aware, and you have even multiple places, like at the tour, like in the contract, in your newsletter, I sent out text messages with a little image of a post-it note to say, don't forget tuition is due tomorrow. Don't forget tuition is due today. Don't forget you forgot to bring tuition this morning. Make sure you bring it in the afternoon. So I've given all these opportunities for them to be aware. They cannot anymore. They can no longer say they didn't know, right? So when I needed to enforce it, I did not feel some kind of way. I did not feel awkward saying, you remember tuition is due today, and or you didn't bring in tuition, so there's a late fee. Okay? Make sure that you, if you need to practice, make a script for yourself, especially if you're new. I just did that in a workshop recently. I did a whole exercise where we did role play, and I was the parent and she was the provider. This was a brand new provider. I can't remember if she started her business or she just started a business. But and of course, when you're new, you don't know that you're going to be confronted with these issues. So we did this whole role play thing, right? And I pretended like I was the parent, like I said, and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot to stop at the bank, and I ran out of checks, and is it okay if I bring it next week?" And so I went through this role play with her, and the audience, the rest of the providers helped her, because she didn't realize how she should answer that, and but if you need to do that, if you need to role play with um, your husband, or role play with your sister or a friend, for these awkward moments, then do that. That's fine. Um, just get comfortable with enforcing your policies, because, like I said, more than likely, go ahead and put a name in underneath here in the comments if you've had to deal with this, because more than likely you will have to deal with something that has to do with somebody not wanting to follow your policy. Okay, I'm gonna get to the last question because, like I said, I can go on and on about that particular issue, but there are resources over in the shop to help you enforce those policies if you need them. So you can go over to thrivingchildcare.com, thrivingchildcareshop.com, thrivingchildcareshop.com, and check out the tuition resources. All right, last question for today. Adrienne, how do I deal with a child who constantly bites other kids in my daycare? These have all these questions today have been about policies, or policy driven. This should be a policy that you have. So you should have a policy that addresses the biters. Because let me just tell you, in my time, I had several. And if you've been in childcare, if you've been in the field for a while, you know that it's kind of a normal thing. A pre-verbal child might bite. Not all of them. I won't say all of them did, but I had some that were serial biters. I mean, they would just bite any and everyone, and not even that, things. They would bite furniture if you let them. And but I will say this: have a policy. Talk. Don't be afraid to talk to the parents about what's going on with their child, because I had one time where this one little boy was a biter, and I think I was fairly new, and I was nervous about talking to the biter. I mean, talking to the parents who of the child that's gotten bitten is also really hard. That's even harder. But this child was biting, and I had to talk to the parents, and these were first time parents, and they just, they looked so concerned and everything. And I don't know if I had a policy about it, but anyway, so I talked to the parents, right? I said, this is what's going on, and he's been biting other children and whatnot. And they were like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. And come to find out, the father had a habit of playing. When he would play with his son, he would play bite him. And so this, obviously, you can fill in the blanks, right? The child was confused. He thought this was a fun game, or this was endearing. This is his father's doing it with him. So maybe he was showing love to that other child that he was biting. And so, but like I said, they were new parents. They didn't realize that's probably not a good game to play with a toddler. So we were able to handle it, but only because I had the gumption and the courage to talk to them about what was happening with their child. Okay. So again, this is another situation where you more than likely should have a policy. How many times are you going to allow a child to bite before they're excused from your program? Maybe before you talk to the parents. I mean, you should probably talk to them after the first time, so it doesn't happen again. If you can stop it from happening, but have a policy around that. Okay. And I know I covered it in the book, so click the link and go over and check out the new book too when you get a chance, because I know I covered it. But have a policy that addresses the biters. Okay. And have that in your handbook, right? All your policies should be in your handbook, so like I said earlier, they can reference it. Your parents can reference it whenever they need it. And by the way, putting your handbook on your website makes it easier for you, because if you ever need to update it, you don't have to print out your handbook all over again for all of your clients. You can just go change it on your website. But have a policy regarding biters, and let parents know when they enroll that this probably won't even concern their child. But some children do wind up being biters, and while it is a normal phase that some children go through, it can be quite dangerous. Human bites can be quite dangerous for other children. So just to be aware, we do have this policy. Okay. So that's what I would say. If you have a child, you said how you deal with one that constantly bites. So obviously, have this conversation with the parents immediately. Okay. If you don't have a policy about biters, put one in place immediately, because I just like I told you, I had that one child, and I don't remember. I think it might have been at the same time, but the parent of the child that got bit, I think it was the situation. She was very upset. And even though she understood that children go through this phase, or could go through this phase, she was upset because her son had gotten bit. And I can understand it. I can understand it. So it just, the awkward conversation is not with letting letting them know that you have this policy. That awkward conversation is not worse than the conversation you have to have when a child is bitten. So set your policy in place. Let your parents know the policy's in place. If it's a new policy, send them out a quick text or a quick email to say we have a biter policy in place here at the daycare, okay? And here's what it entails, okay? And invite them to talk to you about it if they need to get clarification, if they have to understand. But if you're dealing with a biter right now, make sure you talk to the parents, make sure that there's not something going on that is encouraging it. Make sure that parents work with you to curb this behavior. But yeah, make sure. So all today was about policies and how to handle policies, either new policies or enforce new policies. So I hope that it was very helpful to you to understand that, you need to be the one, no matter how many times you told them, just because you put it in the contract or handbook doesn't mean you're never going to have to deal with this issue. You more than likely will need to enforce your policies. Okay? All right. Before I leave you today, I just want to tell you that if you are enjoying the Daycare Q&A show, I would love it if you would come over and learn about the Rise and Thrive Club. That is our membership where you'll feel prepared, supported, and equipped. There's a lot of resources inside the membership that are not available to anyone else, not even my what viewers here. But there are a lot of members only resources. Like I said, you get exclusive early access to our new releases. There are over 20 trainings inside the membership that you have access to, along with templates and roadmaps for setting up things like your EIN, your business bank account, all of those things inside the membership. So go over and check us out. You can click the link that's here in the show notes here. It'll take you over and you can click on the link to find out everything about the Rise and Thrive Club. I would love to see you there. Okay. All right. So I love that you were here with me today. Thank you so much. My name is Adrienne Bradley of the Rise and Thrive Club and the Thriving Childcare and the Daycare Q&A Show. I would love it if you would join me again next week, but until next Wednesday, please keep thriving. All right, I'll see you then. Check the link out.